I'm back with another Destiny video, and this one is going to be mostly based on the TWAB that aired this week, that went through a whole bunch of stuff kind of relating to the core activities, Strikes, Crucible, and Gambit. The TWABs are getting a little more substantive than they used to be, which is good to see, because it's about a month or so where they pretty much were not debuting any news at all, so it's good to see them finally kind of digging into what's coming in Beyond Light, even if I didn't really love a lot of the stuff they kind of showed off or talked about this week, with a few exceptions. I'll get into the different points as we go, but I don't know. A few things about this rubbed me the wrong way, among a few different bright spots that are a little bit better news. So we'll start by they shut off the new Vanguard set of armor, which is actually not just Vanguard. It's across Vanguard, Crucible, and Gambit now. Every year they're going to do a vendor refresh, except the rule is it's one armor set, and it is shared across all three activities, and then you just kind of get different ornaments and different patterns and color schemes across them. So like the Gambit one is like a snake and it's green, and the Crucible one is the phoenixes and it's red and black and stuff. This is not really new news. It's just news that we saw the armor for the first time, and I don't love it. It's fine. It's just kind of generic, and I feel like it shares a lot of similar elements across the three different, like the belt buckles are the same. All three sets have the same little knife here, which seems maybe logical for a Hunter Titan. Looks a little weird on a Warlock robe. And I don't know. I don't love the design. It's a little too generic, and I get that these are vendor sets, and those are never been like the most exciting sets out there. And yet I really, really liked kind of different pieces of both years of the Crucible sets before, which I thought were really unique. And that's one of my favorite helmets actually comes from I think the year 2 Crucible set. And I don't know, it's just a little too plain for me, and I don't think there's going to be something you're going to go out and seek even for transmog. Like, I don't really know. Granted, I need like a zoomed out photo, but I don't really know what pieces of that I just love to get for even transmog. They did say something new about how there are going to be weekly challenges, which lets you get high stat or go for high stat rolls of that armor, which is different than what they have now, because right now there is pretty close to no way of getting high stat rolls on existing vendor sets for the most part. So I don't know. Like, I guess it's better than not having a refresh, but having one set shared across three activities is a little weird. And then that leads into the next thing that they showed off, which is more kind of underwhelming content here, which is the Pursuit Sniper. And this is something else that is also shared among the three core activities, where this sniper is called the Adored, and it is beloved with a callus scarf wrapped around it. We've gone from having 3 pinnacle weapons a season, like truly unique weapons that often kind of broke the game and were probably hard to develop, to having 3 different ones that were ritual weapons, which were not as unique, but at least they had perks you could choose from, and there were 3 of them. And then I've lost track, but I think they took a season off. And then one season was like just the Point of the Stag, Iron Banner, Pinnacle Bow, and now we're doing one sniper shared across 3 activities. And it's a reskin, and it's not one of the unique trait ones either. We're still doing like Buzzard and those kind of weapons where it has the 4 different perks you can just choose from. And granted, I don't know, maybe there'll be some interesting perks in there, and it's always nice to have flexibility on that, and a couple of those weapons are fine. It's just not very exciting, and especially so, this just seems like it's coming at a very weird time where everyone's kind of like skittish about sunsetting, and is this going to work out well? Like, am I just going to have to re-earn all the stuff I just got rid of? And the first ritual, or I keep changing the name. It went from Pinnacle to Ritual, and now it's Pursuit Weapon. The first Pursuit Weapon they debut is literally just Beloved wrapped in a scarf. Like, that is not a great look, especially considering all the complaints. Like, we are just having to get rid of the Beloveds that we have now for high-end PvP and PvE, and now we're going to have a new Beloved. And like the DMG said, it was like different in some way. Like, it doesn't, it won't quite feel the same, Will it feel worse? I don't know. Maybe. I guess its beloved felt pretty damn good, so I guess it's possible. But this just seems like a weird, kind of non-exciting debut of a new weapon because it's not a new weapon, and it's also, way less pinnacle ritual pursuit content than we used to get. So I don't love that. Moving on to the Crucible playlist, we already know all the modes they're cutting. One interesting note was that they said that they're doing a solo Iron Banner playlist, which is a very, very good move. And people have been asking for that for forever now, and that should solve a lot of the issues with constantly running into six stacks and stuff when you're just trying to play solo. No word about Iron Banner rewards or loot grinding, which I think is the worst aspect of that right now. Like, it is painfully unrewarding to try and get specific armor drops or weapon drops from Iron Banner right now, especially once you've finished out just your four bounties for the week and get that token pile turned in. It is exhausting to try and earn more gear after that because of low drop rates after match and how few tokens you earn. So I'm hoping there will be other changes coming to that. People have suggested some form of the Umbral engram system where you choose your rewards to some extent could be integrated into Iron Banner, and a lot of activities, frankly. So we'll see. They didn't mention anything about that, but it's probably too early to rule it out. Also, they did mention that Adept Trials weapons are coming this season. Well, Beyond Light rather than the season after, which is what they said previously. Considering Beyond Light was delayed for 2 months, this seems like that opened the door for that to happen. So Trials will be getting Adept weapons, and now people are freaking out that the streamers and the cheaters are going to get all the best weapons because those are the people that are going flawless the most. I mean, for me personally, this doesn't affect me that much because I don't go flawless. I mean, if I really, hunted down a bunch of my streamer buddies, they'd probably carry them if I wanted to, but I just don't care that much, and so adept weapons are probably going to be out of my reach anyway. This also came with the news that there are going to be adept strike weapons, and they really said nothing about that, but I am very curious to hear more about that because I'm trying to understand if this is solving one or two problems. The two problems are everybody hates Grandmasters, and there's no real reason to run Grandmasters outside of the title or just for the challenge. So I'm wondering if they're putting in adept strike weapons into Grandmaster rewards. Secondly, I'm wondering if it is strike-specific loot. And that is the thing that people have been asking for forever in Destiny 2. Strike-specific loot, which there were a couple examples of that early on, but there's only just a handful of weapons that you could get with random rolls, strike-specific loot. Mindbenders is the most obvious that people used to grind for. But I'm a little concerned that if both of those things are true, and there are unique adept strike weapons then that are only in Grandmaster, that's kind of bad because Grandmaster strikes are kind of bad. And I get that they want high-end pinnacle activity or rewards for high-end activities like that, and yet part of the fun of strike-specific loot was that you could even just be running the strike playlist and you'd at least have some chance of maybe, randomly getting a strike-specific drop from a specific strike. And I remember people didn't even love the fact that they changed that in D2 to only be from Nightfalls and not from regular strikes at all. And now if they make something really just totally locked into Grandmaster, I would not love that. They didn't really talk about the loot necessarily being unique, so I do wonder if it might just be existing things that they adeptify, for lack of a better term, whether that's giving it an intrinsic perk or something that it might not have otherwise, or what. So maybe it won't be unique loot at all. It'll just be loot with a bonus perk or something. We need to learn more about that before I get too much into it, but I wasn't expecting adept strike loot, so that's something. I'm just curious as to how it's going to be handled. And then finally, the TWAB ends with all the Gambit changes, and it's just the whole Gambit thing strikes me as so strange. The mode just seems dead. They've taken it from two different modes with different objectives and different styles to one mode, and that mode is pretty much Gambit Prime, except they stripped it down even more. And so we've lost 2 maps that are being sunset, and so there's only 4 Gambit maps total, unless the new DLC adds any, which we have seen no indication it will. There are no more roles. They are they're not doing the armor sets anymore, so there's no invader roles, collector roles, etc. They've taken out the changes they list. They've taken out some of the harder yellow bars because there are no more roles to take them on adequately, like the Reaper set could. They changed the primeval phase to be less long, which I think is a good change because the primeval phase takes half the freaking match in Gambit Prime, so I think that's good. And then the overall length of the match is shorter, and it is 1 round, as they said previously, but it's just like they've stripped so much out of Gambit, and like Gambit was already not that robust of a mode to begin with. Like compared to all the strikes we have in the strike playlist and all the different Crucible modes, there were 2 Gambit modes and 6 maps. Now there's 1 Gambit mode that is less involved than either of those 2 ever were, and 4 maps. And as far as we can tell, no more like even Gambit specific loot and stuff, because now everything just shares a loot pool, whether that's armor or weapons or everything. So it's very weird that the game keeps treating Gambit like it's the 3rd pillar of the core activities when it's just such a lesser experience and there's just so much less to it than the other 2. In the past, when they focused on Gambit, we had Season of the Drifter, which was like everybody's most hated season at the time. So like I just don't know what they're gonna do with Gambit going forward, or if it's gonna stick around indefinitely. It just seems like an activity that mostly they're just gonna be like putting in objectives and quests like they always do, like go do this in Gambit, go do that in Gambit, and then for the pursuit weapon, you can complete that in Gambit if you want to. I assume it'll be like sniping invaders or sniping as an invader for this time, but it's been stripped down to like the barest of bare bones. And maybe they can make it interesting again if they bring it back in some of the perks of the different Prime sets as mods, which is something they mentioned before. They didn't mention it in this TWAB, but I don't know. Maybe that can make it a little more interesting. It's just, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's in a good place, and it doesn't seem like it's a priority to fix it. So I think people will continue doing Gambit the least amount possible, and now there'll be shorter matches, so they'll play less of it. That was everything in the TWAB. I just wrote today about how we learned that Mountaintop is getting nerfed. DMG said that. He said it won't be killed, but it'll be nerfed. So I am celebrating about that because even if it's being sunset, it's still obviously way overpowered in PvE and PvP activities, even if light level is no longer a thing. So that's cool. He also teased, I think, 110 hand cannon buffs. So all of this stuff is apparently coming in October. There's going to be some sort of big sandbox update. We're going to learn more about this kind of stuff. Hopefully a rocket launcher buff. That would be cool. We'll see. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't love a lot of what was in the TWAB. I think solo Iron Banner is probably the best news out of all of that. And it seems like the core activities, like they've reshaped them and reduced them to be just much less important and relevant than they were previously. And by they're just all lumped together now. They have 1 pursuit weapon, they have 1 armor set. It just, I don't know. I don't really love it, and I wish they would get kind of more care and more interesting things rather than just cutting out all the fat. We're also losing a bunch of strikes and Crucible maps and stuff like that. It's, I don't know. Heading into Beyond Light, I get that we're going to be focusing mostly on the new content, but it seems weird to kind of slim down these playlists as much as they have been. And also, because these playlists are what New Light players can access, and New Light players also just lost all the campaigns and all the raids, and then these playlists are getting kind of reduced too. So it's, I don't know, it's not great. I'm certainly looking forward to the actual meat of Beyond Light itself. It's just, this makes it seem like the Destiny's just kind of moving on from these core playlists overall, and we'll see how that feels for the health of the game in the long run, but I'm a little concerned about a few aspects of what they're talking about here. But yep, that's all for now, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.